Hello, and welcome to another video. Today, I'll be showing you the deck that I played and everything that I opened in my pre-release event for The Hobbit. And then after that, I've got my prize packs here that I won at the pre-release. So we can open these up together at the end. Alright. So the deck I played is still all assembled in here. I'm just gonna take a moment to get it all unsleeved and laid out, and then we can talk about it. So here is the deck that I played. It might look a little bit more sultai than it actually is. The Pardon Friendship is the only real green pip in here. These other creatures are just kind of pretending. But yeah. With this, I went to 0-1, so technically undefeated, with 2 wins and 1 draw. I really enjoyed playing this. I found it pretty challenging, a lot of really interesting decision points and multiple lines to think through. There was a lot of opportunity for interaction with my opponent's stuff. Yeah, really interesting deck to play. I know black-blue isn't really an official color pair, but I didn't really ever notice any issues with these colors. Maybe there was some missed opportunities for synergies, but I felt perfectly fine with all of this. I would say Pardon Friendship was probably the MVP of the deck. It definitely contributed to directly winning games for me, so I was very happy with that. But yeah, we can talk about this a bit more granularly and talk about some individual cards. This land was kind of whatever. Just a tapped blue-green land for me. I don't think I had any elves, so the activated ability really did not matter. For our 2-mana creatures, this guy was perfectly fine. I like that it can trade up or take out an X1 when it dies. Like, even sacrificing it to this might let you take out 2 creatures, which is pretty awesome. Old Thrush ended up kind of surprising me. I had originally cut this from my deck because I didn't like that it puts the land on top of your library. It is an optional ability, so you don't have to do that if you don't want. If I did draw this later in the game, then I would often just decline to do that. But for a deck with 3 colors, it was helpful to smooth that out a little bit. Beyond that, the 2 life might end up mattering. As an evasive creature, it was a good target for +1/+1 counters. So I think in the end I was glad that I played it. Golem was pretty awesome. It did take some time, but I was often able to get through all of the options. Or at the very least draw a card. Like, playing this on turn 2 was really good. Just name whatever your opponent is going to play next, whether it's odd or even, and you're probably going to draw a card. And then Stir Up Trouble I enjoyed. You know, if it's late, you can just pay 5 for it. Or, sometimes I had a creature that I really didn't mind sacrificing. Like this guy, or Fearsome Goblin Pair. looking at the 3-mana creatures, here's the fearsome goblin pair I was just talking about. It is a 3-mana 1/1, but it amasses goblins 4 when it dies. It is perfect for sacrificing or chump blocking. Combos really well with this guy, which was otherwise a bit tricky to use. It's a 3-mana 1/3, and when it enters, it destroys another target creature. Its controller amasses Goblins X, where X is that creature's power, and if you controlled that creature, you draw a card. So you're definitely incentivized to draw that card. I mean, you can maybe upgrade one of your creatures, like turning a 3/1 into a 3/3 army. You can remove your opponent's stuff, but you're not really reducing the amount of power they have. Maybe if they have a really good ability you want to get rid of, then it might be worth it. Yeah, I found Azog a little bit awkward, but overall really good. Bilbo I liked. He's a 2/1 that draws a card, so I never felt too bad sacrificing him either once he already did his thing. And then Duskwatch Hunter, not too bad. Sometimes that unblockable by tokens ability was extremely relevant. For the 3-mana non-creature spells, I really enjoyed all of these. This was extremely helpful, especially against goblin armies. I enjoyed both modes of this one. You know, between these two, and with Bilbo, or the golem that we looked at. One big part of my strategy was just to try and draw more cards than my opponent as early as possible. So between all of these options, I could really start drawing extra cards by turn 3 or 4. I mean, this you have to wait a little bit for, but it goes off twice, which is great. Gnashing of Teeth I really liked. Either takes down a pretty sizable creature, or a bunch of X1s. Really good against Recruit, or that halfling creature that copies itself a couple times and can tap for a bunch of mana. I took down a few of those with this. For the 4-mana stuff, Uneasy Partings I really enjoyed. I could frequently cast this for only 3 mana. We've had cards like this in a lot of sets lately, so we know it performs pretty well. I actually had 2 more of these in my pool as well. And I think I would have been happy running all of them, quite honestly. This golem was totally fine. Ravenhill Flock, overall I liked. As you might imagine, it was a bit slow, but unless they deal with it, it can really get going, especially if you're drawing extra cards. So I wouldn't say it's for every deck. And then our top end, Pardon Friendship, like I mentioned earlier, was MVP of the entire deck. Late game, I was never down creatures. It only triggers once per turn, but it does open the door for chump blocking or even attacking mildly unprofitably if you think you have a good chance of spiking something better than what you have on board. It really changes math for your opponent. Are they going to take damage? Are they going to try and trade off their creatures? Is it worth using removal on your creatures once you have this? Once you have enough land, you can probably put whatever you hit right into play. I was able to get both of these off of it multiple times. So I am fully sold on Pardon Friendship, and in retrospect, it was definitely worth splashing for. Lord of the Eagles I really enjoyed. Didn't have quite enough flyers to get its cost down that significantly, but it is an 8/8 flying flash creature, so if you are able to cast it, then it's probably doing something great for you. And Large Bear was fantastic. Casting a 5/5 haste trample creature can really knock your opponent off their guard. So, love that. Next, we can take a look at the entire pool together and take a look at stuff that I didn't play. So, first I'll go ahead and pull out all of the rares, and we can look at that. Okay. So here are the rares that I opened. Quite a few that I didn't play, including some that were even on color for me. The Riddles in the Dark was my promo card, and I was actually very close to playing this. I think it probably would have been good in my deck. Seems like a really fun little mini game, but just didn't have room for it. Bejeweled Warg is another one that I wanted to run, but ended up cutting. I do think it is a good card, but for my deck, it was too low down on the curve for my splash color. I mean, it does create treasure, which would help with fixing, but not when this is the card that you need the fixing for. And I do like the +1/+1 counter thing it can do, but without knowing that I could reliably cast this on turn 2 or 3, then you're kind of losing out on some of that value. I also like the look of this Bilbo's Gambit. Definitely would have been interested in that if I were in white. But yeah, those are the rares. here is all of the white that I opened, plus the one white rare. Not a deep enough color, I don't think. I do like the removal and the saga, but there's like 2 creatures, so not really enough playables here. Taking a look at the blue, like I mentioned earlier, I probably could have run more of the uneasy partings. Other than that, it's kind of just some counter spells and some creatures that I didn't run. But don't really feel like much of this is better than what I already had going on. Moving on to black. I ran pretty much all of this aside from some duplicates and the saga. I would have liked to try this card, but the 3-mana slot in my deck was already pretty packed, so unfortunately did not have room for it. Here is the red. Similar to the white that we looked at, this is a pretty thin color, I think. I didn't feel too strongly about any of this. Pinecone Strike I thought might be good. A 5/5 flying creature is a nice inevitability, but 0% chance that I was gonna splash for this. And I think we're really seeing the effects of a small set with legendaries at common. Not great to have the same legendary 7 drop 4 times in the same sealed pool. But anyway. For green, there are a few of these that I would have liked to try out. like Nasty Little Rabbit. Coral I thought looked pretty good. Mirkwood Pathmaker would have been giant in my deck. You know, I had a few games where I was flooding out there quite a bit, but this could have been massive. So, yeah, that is the green. For multicolored, I guess we've got some cards to bolster that lack of white and red we were seeing. But I'm really happy with everything from here that I ran. And lastly, our colorless creatures and non-basic land. I guess my pool really wanted me to go to Goblin Town, but I did not. I was running some goblins, so maybe I could have run a few of these to try and just use that ability, but doesn't quite seem worth it. But anyway, those are all of the cards that I opened in my pre-release kit. I'm curious if you would have done anything differently, or did you have any experience with these cards that you want to impart? I would love to hear it. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to open up the prize packs. Alright, so for my record of 2 wins and 1 draw, I got 5 prize packs. Let's see what we get. And I'll just kind of go through these quickly. Head of the Hunt. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Create a 2/2 wolf token. Nice. A foil island. We'll set this aside. Tom, Bert, and William. Cool. You can pay 1 and sacrifice another creature to draw cards equal to its power, then discard a card. Another along the crooked way. Wizard staff. I talked about this card briefly last week. Supper for Spiders. Put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards in your opponent's graveyards, and they become food artifacts. And a foil along the crooked way. A showcase head of the hunt. That looks cool. There we have it. Thank you so much for joining me today for a look through all of these cards from the new Hobbit set. I would love to know how your pre-release went, if you went out and played in one. Do you have any favorite cards you opened? Anything you're looking forward to for Commander? or any other constructed format, let me know down in the comments. And just a shameless plug before we close out. I will be at CubeCon this year in Madison, Wisconsin, August 27th through the 30th. So if Cube is of interest to you, definitely consider checking it out. And if you're going to be there, I would love to say hi. And as always, please hit that like button, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I put out new Magic the Gathering ASMR videos every Monday and Friday. I truly appreciate all of your support, and I hope you have a wonderful day.